I'm Kim, and welcome to Homestead Hopeful. Today I'm going to be making a batch of refrigerator pickles. So join me. Here is a batch, my very first batch that I made about 2 weeks ago now. I made the brine and filled it up with all of the mismatched things in my garden. I have a relatively small garden, so things come in small increments. If it's big enough, then I will use it for a serving of dinner or what have you. But a lot of times, I might get 3 or 4 beans or just 1 cucumber or a handful of cucamelons. So I looked up a recipe for refrigerator pickles and tried this one, and it works wonderfully. So in this jar I have some tomatoes, I have some cucumbers, I have beans, 2 different kinds of beans, cucamelons. At the bottom you'll see ground cherries. So a little bit about this: I loved the cucumbers, they came out great. The green beans are fantastic. I love the cucamelons. The tomatoes are absolutely beautiful. They add a huge pop of color to the jar, but I do not like them. I won't be pickling those again. The cucamelons also, the ground cherries also, they add some nice color. These were a little green when I put them in there, and that's why I thought I would pickle them, but it is not a flavor that I enjoy, so I will not be doing those for me again anyway. The beans, I have 2 different kinds of beans in here. So this one right here, the bigger bean, is a purple bean, so it obviously loses color in the jar even for a fridge pickle. The other bean are just my provider beans. The dill is from my garden. The garlic, so my brine is a little bit cloudy, and that is because I did not grow garlic. I used a jarred garlic. I know, it's on my list to learn how to do. So that is why my brine looks a little cloudy, because I used this jarred garlic that's already cut up instead of big garlic cloves. Okay, so let's take a look at the recipe. I just looked on Pinterest and I found this one from self-proclaimedfoodie.com. This is easy refrigerator dill pickles, and obviously they're made for pickles, but I put whatever in there. I think if I had carrots, I would probably do that. I'm going to try peppers because I have a pepper or 2, but I didn't grow carrots this year, and I wanted to keep at least this jar things that I grew in my garden. Alright, so let's talk about supplies. You're going to need a pot to cook everything in. You're going to need 2 quart jars, so depending on how much food you have to stuff these with, depends on how much brine you need. What I did for the first time is I used half the recipe, and I had just enough. It was perfect size for this container. I had it pretty well full of vegetables in there. So we've eaten some out of there, and it filled it up really nicely. So half does 1 jar. Half a recipe does 1 jar. Then you're going to need vinegar. For the first time I used the distilled white vinegar. During the springtime, I made this chive vinegar, and I've used it for salad dressing. I mixed it with oil, and it was really nice. So I think at some point I want to use this, but I don't have enough of this for a big recipe. So I think I'll try a small batch at some point and see how I like that. Then you're going to need some salt. I've seen a lot of people do pickling salt. You don't have to use pickling salt. I use the pink Himalayan. Then some sugar, dill, which this is from my garden, black peppercorns, and I know, don't give me the look. I know, garlic. So this is the garlic that I have, so try not to hate on me too much. It's what I'm going to use. Then, since I'm making this for a friend, I'm seeing a friend tomorrow, and I would like to bring her a batch of refrigerated pickles. I am going to put a little bit of everything in there. So I have some cucumbers that I grew. This one, from the heat, it grew kind of wonky, but that'll be fine in there. I'm going to put in some cucamelons. These are probably my favorite in there. I'm going to put part of a sweet pepper, part of a banana pepper. I've got 2 of them, one for me, one for her. I'm going to put some of the regular green beans and some of the purple beans, and just because it adds a pop of color, and I don't know if she or her family might like them, I'm going to add a few tomatoes, depending on how many I can fit in the jar. So let's get started. Okay, to get started, I am boiling 4 cups of water and 2 cups of distilled white vinegar. And while that's going, I'm gonna jump over here and I'm gonna get my jars ready. These jars are already cleaned, they're washed and dried. You don't have to sanitize these, they don't have to be sterile because we're not canning them, we're just using the refrigerator to preserve them. So I can get these started. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I forgot that I need to add my salt and my salt and my sugar to the pot. So I'll bring these over one at a time because I've only got one hand. In it goes. All right. Okay, and I'm going to mix that in. And then I need to get this to boil and then come to room temperature, because I don't want to put it in boiling into the jars because of the fruit that I'm putting in. I don't want it to change the consistency of the fruit. I don't want it to be too mushy. All right, so I'm going to let that boil. And while I do that, I'll get my vegetables ready. So I'm going to get these ready and I'll meet you back. So my vinegar and water and salt solution with the sugar in it came to a boil, and now I've got that on a cool burner to start to cool down. And in the meantime, I finished cutting up the vegetables. For the green beans, all I did was I tipped them, the bottoms and the tops. The cucumber I put in there whole with just the bottom trimmed off, the bottom and the top trimmed off. That's how I did it the last time, and it tasted great. I didn't score the tomatoes, and I'm kind of thinking maybe I should, but I mean, it does look really pretty in there with the purple, so when I give it to her, it's gonna still be really pretty. So on the bottom is the garlic, the peppercorns, and the dill. You can see the dill down there. And then I've got the banana peppers, the purple beans, the green beans. I've got a green pepper in there, the cucamelons. I think that's it. Yep, that's it. So if I was growing, carrots or onions, I could put that in there too. But this is just, I wanted it to be, because it's a gift, I wanted it to be all from my garden, everything that I've grown. So besides the spices and the vinegar, it's everything that I have grown. So mine is kind of the leftovers, and this is okay too, because what I'll do is I'll put this brine in the refrigerator. My cat is having a meltdown because he wants in a room that somebody is not allowing him into. So what I'll do is I'll put this in the refrigerator, and I'll probably add to it as I pick random things in the garden here and there as they are ripe. Okay, so I'm going to let that brine cool down, and then I'll be back to fill these up and close them off. Alright, while I was waiting for the brine to finish cooling, I got dinner started in the background, so I'm ready to finish this up. So now that my veggies are ready, and now that my brine is room temperature, I'm just going to ladle it into the jars. The recipe said that the brine was enough to fill 2 quarts and a pint, but I don't think I have as much food in there as she did, so I'm going to fill it. I don't really need to leave a lot of headspace because I'm not canning it, so I'll do that. Ooh, look. Alright, and that's what it looks like. Got my jar lids right here, ready to go. All right, so you seal that up, and then it is ready for the refrigerator. You don't have to debubble anything because we're not canning this. It's just going into the refrigerator. And this is going to my friend, Sarah. So hopefully she likes it as much as I do. It really is pretty with all of those colors. Okay friends, that's how you make quick refrigerated pickles. It really wasn't hard at all. It's pretty quick. I can definitely see myself doing that probably in the evening, especially when I have maybe some vegetables that didn't amount to a dinner or a meal, but I want to preserve them. So I gotta get back to dinner. So thank you so much for joining me. This is Homestead Hopeful. Thanks bunches. Have a great day.